Welcome to episode 227 of Sports Geek. On this week's episode, I chat with Anna Hugh from Brizi about reinventing group memories.
Welcome to Sports Geek, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now, here's your host who loves working with teams around the world, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. Yes, my name is Sean Callanan, and I'm recording this on a Saturday morning after we had a really big win against Mammoth. One of the goals that we've had with our League of Legends team is to slowly but surely get a win against every team in the competition, and Mammoth was another one that was on our list that did not have a line through it. So really big achievement, really proud of Juves and EGIM and the boys to get that win. Some more important games to the end of the season. We head to Gauntlet. So if you want to follow along, follow Gravitas OCE on Twitter, OCE, or go to Gravitas GG to check it out. But for me, to contact me, you can go to Sean at sportsgeekhq.com or send me a tweet at Sean Callanan on most platforms. Or at Sports Geek on most platforms. Before I get into my conversation with Anna Hugh from Brizi, as part of our startup series, as well as our CEO series, Anna qualifies as both. I want to talk a little bit about digital to dollars, because it really does. We sort of touch on it a little bit in our conversation. If you're in the partnerships or sponsorship space and you're looking for extra revenue, we can help with that. That's what digital dollars is built for. So it's to help commercial teams dive into the digital side of your business and help you find assets that are probably under-commercialized, but also help you see where the value is in what you're selling. So it's a little bit of a shifting of focus into the digital space. And then from the digital side of things, if you are frustrated with the lack of resources that you're being provided, or the lack of buy-in from C-level, we can help in running through the digital dollars process to better articulate the revenue you are bringing in and make really a compelling case for digital have a stronger say or even a seat at the table, which it should, because it's driving so much revenue. So that's a couple of the outcomes from the digital to dollars process. So if you're looking to lift your revenue numbers from across the board and have digital be the driver, please get in touch. Sean at sportsgeekhq.com. Check out the process at digitaltodollars.com. Happy to run the workshop. It has a few different forms, whether it's for a team and run over 2 days with some follow-up work to embed the process across the organisation, or we can do the one-day league workshops as we did with the AFL last year. So digitaldollars.com, you can check it out there. This conversation with Anna Hugh from Brizi, Brizi. We've caught up a couple of times, as we talk about in the interview, at conferences and also at the Australian Open when she visited a couple of years ago, them being a client. And she's also part of Sports Geek Nation. And remember, at the moment it's closed, but as a Sports Geek podcast listener, you can still get access by going to sportsgeeknation.com/connected. So now please enjoy my chat with Anna Hugh from Brizi. Very happy to catch up with a good friend of mine, co-founder and CEO of Brizi, Anna Hugh. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Sean. Great to be here.
Good to catch up with you. Caught up with you recently at National Sports Forum after we seem to keep crossing paths either at major tennis tournaments or conferences over the years.
That's right. And the Australian Open. Hey, don't forget that.
Exactly. My hometown. It was just the Australian Open recently here, and again, keeps breaking all kinds of records. That's a good start, because first of all, I want you to, tell everyone what Brizi is and how it's spelt, because coming from Australia, when someone says Brizi, they mean Brisbane, which is far north, which is a Queensland state capital. But Brizi, Z or Z for our North American friends. I is how you spell it. Tell us what Brizi is and how it got started.
Yeah, sure. So Brizi is what I would say an IoT platform, and we let anyone tap into nearby cameras to capture group memories at iconic places. So, what that means in a sports context is we put robotic pivoting cameras in sports venues around the world for fans attending to capture their best moment from the game. And our customers are pretty widespread across NBA teams, tennis, hockey arenas, soccer stadiums, and most recently landmarks as well. So in 8 countries and counting. And if you've attended Grand Slam tennis tournaments, you've probably either used or come across our technology in the past.
And so from a fan point of view, like you said, they're fan-controlled cameras. Someone sitting either at Rod Laver Arena or an NBA arena, they can log on, use the team app or the tournament app. What's the user experience from the fan point of view?
Sure. So let me get into it. The user experience feels just like your native camera app experience, which is what makes it super magical. So as a fan, you've got a white labeled website. Let's say it's usopenfancam.com. And you punch in your seat number, and boom, you've got a camera that swivels right over to you, swiveling. It's positioned all the way from across the stadium or underneath the jumbotron, and you see yourself on your phone. So from there, you've got 30 seconds to pan and zoom and get everybody in the crowd, in the photo, in your group. And as soon as you trigger the picture, 3, 2, 1, you look up, you look down, and you've got this beautiful moment that you've snapped and you can share your social network.
And so that was so again, trying to make it exactly this, because the hard bit when you're doing fan activation, especially at short-term tournaments, which tennis is, but also so is an NBA game, because people might only come to a game once or twice a year. You don't have a lot of time to train someone up or ask them to download things. That making it as easy to use as possible was a key bit to actually getting users using it.
100%. And you've got, and that actually becomes a great conversion tool to then entice the fans to download the app, because once you've got some value that you're adding to their game day experience, right? And we all know where this goes, because so many apps are a complex environment to launch. And so you've got to have great fan experience to be able to deliver in there. And if not, then you need programs that entice fans to know what you've got to offer and give them something that they can't do anywhere else.
So in the early days, as you were developing Brizi, what was the MVP like? How did you have those initial conversations? Because there's this obvious need from a venue operator and a tournament provider and a team to better engage the fan, and fan engagement is this buzz term that just seems to have enveloped our whole industry, right? How did you latch onto that, but then also say, here's actually a solution that actually connects with your fans, gives them that I like to call it digital as the face paint. So it gives them that face paint to share, because everyone wants to take that selfie and that shot. How did you take that, all of those factors, but actually jump through all the hoops, because you've got several different stakeholders in sports that are part of the equation. How did you pull them all together?
Great question, Sean. So let me take you back to this is early days. So my background is actually in technology. My early days in my career was working at Microsoft and Apple, where it was, relatively low risk and assumably so low impact as well. And I come from a family full of entrepreneurs who I guess inspired me to start something of my own at one point in time. And always kind of being on the outlook for unique opportunities, I recognize that not only do fans, this was years ago, right? Not only do fans spend a lot of their time at games using the camera app on their phones, at the same time, it was crazy how excited fans would get just because they saw themselves on the big screen inside the venue, right? And so combining those two concepts is kind of where the inspiration for Brizi came from. It's how do you give the that feeling fans get when they see themselves on the jumbotron? How do you give that feeling to a single fan in the arena? So bit by bit, that idea turned into kind of the company you see today. That's the inspiration that then my co-founder Sammy and I worked to transform that into Brizi today. And it was really just a ton of great feedback from customers and advisors, which we used to really refine both the product and the model. Dwayne Hankins from the Blazers has been on your show. Kirsten Corio from USTA was a big advocate as well, and still is, right? So that's awesome. So that's basically kind of how we were born, and here we are today.
Yeah, I mean, because the key bit is that people want to share and brag where they're at, and so I think the point of view that you get from the camera from attached to the scoreboard is exactly the same as the Jumbotron shot. So that's sort of the I guess the secret sauce on why people want to use the product and share it. How have you found engaging the sponsorship executives and the partnership executives, because they're a big part of, I guess, activations, because you don't want to just be a new shiny tool in the stadium. You want to help bring in revenue. How have they responded to integrating with the product?
Great question again. So, we get thousands and thousands of pieces of content getting shared with every customer. So now you've got this basically engine of UGC that gets shared out every game. So these sponsors are designing these really fun overlays and filters, and essentially giving fans the choice to select from a whole collection of different, call it, right? And as soon as that information is shared, as soon as the photo is shared or the video is shared, fans can then, get that photo, whether it's emailed to them or, log into social media. And there's that exchange of information that really lets us say, here's the value to you as a fan. Here's a great moment we were able to capture from a unique angle of yourself and your loved ones. And in return, we've now, captured some data that we can now use with sponsorship and learn more about the target audience that we're marketing to. And one of the biggest things that really comes up for us again and again these days is the idea of unlocking experiential to not only look for that authentic, deeper engagement with fans, but considering scale as a huge factor, right? Now with how instant and on demand is, everyone wants to feel like everyone wants to have a meet and greet, right? That used to be the thing, but that provided depth of engagement, but scalability was always an issue. And these brands don't have awareness issues anymore, right? They want to build a strong affinity between them and the consumers. So how do we build this alternative funnel, converting from awareness to actually deep trust of a brand? And that's something that only experiential can do, and something that, you give fans that 30 seconds where they're in control of their arena camera. So that's what the experience that we deliver, and gets people so hyped up, jumping up and down, doing dances. We've had 2 marriage proposals, all sorts of things that you can imagine. So, not only is it that we're tackling the depth of engagement, but we're also tackling how do we drive the scalability of that depth of engagement.
Yeah, obviously the data piece and attracting the data is super important, and understanding who's using it and, who's taking part in the activation. But at the moment, I really feel for corporate brand marketers that are trying to use social platforms and trying to get people to engage. It's just getting so tough for them to get any cut through with all the tweaks of the algorithm. It's not on the corporate marketer's side. And as a user, I'm quite okay with that, but it does make their job, really hard. And that's why there's, that's why they are leaning into experiential and UGC, and letting fans leverage that, and basking in the afterglow, I guess, of being part of that sporting event or team or that success, because it's really tough for them to get any cut through through the noise of the social media and digital market.
100%. It's like they don't have ownership, right, over their fan base, and it becomes a question of how do we, instead of rely on these platforms and ad serving through the sponsors on these platforms, how do we? And this is where we have a lot of interesting conversations. Saying again, this is where our product came to where it has become today, which is that it almost feels like a white labeled Instagram, right? It's providing fans this opportunity. It's completely white labeled and fully owned by the property.
And then the fact that then they have the ability to spin that off in different parts of their season with different partners, and those kind of things, to be able to say, hey, here's what the fans are sharing, because it's not just, yes, you can just activate that and tell people to take your photo, but then you can also pick all those content pieces up, put them on a photo wall that is on the concourse, or put them on a digital display, or put them on the website, or so that it gives you so many options sort of after that piece, because it's not just the capture and the share of the shot.
Exactly. Now it finally becomes your own platform, right? Where now you've got these thousands of users that you can. So we've had live contesting because we capture the seat number. You can go right in there and surprise and delight. So that's something that sponsors love. Lots of different ideas that can now be run with detailed fan data. We collect an aggregate level of brand preferences. And I think most importantly is that each user is linked to their seat number. That gives this almost a digital archive of who was sitting where on which night, right? Like what the seat looks like from a holistic point of view each and every night, creating that archive.
And so what's the challenge sometimes when teams, because they are, and now running one myself in the esports space, light on resources and trying to keep everything going operationally, in getting content out, there's always another game night, another day, or the next week. There's a little bit of, oh, cool, we've got this new tool. It's a silver bullet. It's going to solve all our problems. And there's a little bit of set and forget, right? They just go, cool, we've rolled it out. Every fan in the stadium will take photos. How do you, I guess, negate that? I'm not saying that people, how do you make sure that they onboard and then it can get eventually it must get its own momentum. But how important are those first, we say it takes about 6 weeks for digital fans to figure out that help them develop a habit. Have you got some sort of data that helps to say, oh, cool, once we've done this for 10 home games, or, to help them actually use it? Because you need to make it sure it's part of the plan. What are some of the key things you guys have to do?
You know what? It might be surprising, but it's surprisingly a light amount of work. What we're really here doing is really like this idea of having right, we're running this campaign without of content creation, and you're offloading all the content creation work to your fans who love to create content. So how we onboard is typically you got a set of best practices. So our customer success team will take you through that. Typically, we help create a 10, 15-second kind of video reel with a script over it, just to kind of get that especially pre-game. That's usually when a lot of the downtime is for fans. And we've got best practices for push notifications, best practices for flyers if it pertains to the sport, if that fits well. And so just setting these best practices, and it's kind of just set and go. Surprisingly, we got something like 24,000 photos from the U.S. Open that were snapped and shared. These numbers are just we're not changing user behavior. That's kind of what's kind of the hidden secret sauce. I'm not sure how hidden it is, but it's the secret sauce around it, right? We're not changing behavior.
No, it's effectively there's probably 10 times as many photos being taken at the US Open, but as long as you get 10% of them shared and used from you, because they're going to take all these photos anyway. This is my experience, and you're offering a specific point of view. So is it really just, amongst of, you don't have to have people tweeting it out every day to remind people. It's really because it's it's in your face. They're looking at the scoreboard. As long as you get some presence on the main screen or some of the boards that say, "Hey, don't forget, take your photo, go here." Most fans go, "Oh yeah, that's cool. I'll do that." And then if you double it down with, "Oh, if you take your photo, you could win a flight to so and so," it just incentivizes it from a partnership's point of view and a fan point of view.
Yeah, contacting is great. Also, we see a lot of physical virality, which is the thing that, when let's say a group of people are using it, they are like, they stand up, they do some crazy like arm waving, and everyone around them will go, "What's going on? Are you on camera? Like, what's going on?" And then they'll say, "Hey, it's the U.S. Open fan cam," right? And there's this kind of cool community that's being built in the stands where strangers who may not typically talk to each other will. Actually, this is a funny from the 76ers. Another one of our customers. So we ran this. This was for a special event, but we ran this. It was like a row contest where the row with the section in the row with the most amount of
photos.
Funny photos,
yeah.
Right? Like wacky stuff would win. Like I'll win some Sixers prize pack.
Yeah.
And the engagement on that was insane. Like we had, I think, 600 fans at one point, just at one instance in time, all on the system watching the camera swiveling around. It was something else.
So got to be, sometimes you got to be kept. How does it? You got to be careful of having too much success. What happens when 1,500 people all want to control the cameras? Like, is that a common?
It's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
And so the experience, actually, we've gotten great user feedback, which is that it's still extremely exciting. So what they see on their screen is, instead of the camera live feed showing them, it would be showing another group of people. But then when the queue is loaded, it's dynamic, such that now instead of 30 seconds, everyone kind of gets 10, 15 seconds. So you're just watching the camera swivel from seat to seat to seat, and everyone's kind of got their pose ready because they've been they've kind of been watching, right? And it counts down, and they'll say, you're third in line, you're second in line, you're next in line, and then your phone vibrates when it's your turn. So
it is the opposite of that experience of, I've got to wait. It's sort of like you're in the deli line waiting to be served, but the anticipation is getting higher and higher because you're looking to outdo the people you're watching taking photos as you're waiting.
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very cool. So you obviously found your start in tennis, and as you've said, you're now in NBA and hockey arenas and in different parts of the world. You mentioned there about iconic places. How are you, I guess, branching outside of sports, and where does Brizi fit in that space?
Yeah, so this greater vision has always kind of been in the back of my head, and only recently did we start talking about this idea of group memories. We don't think of ourselves as a sports or sports tech business. At the end of the day, we're in the business of group memories. How do we help people create more memorable moments, more authentic, meaningful, just memorabilia that we'll still hold on to? Just, I think, in this digital age, that concept has changed, but the human need for that connection has not. So I guess this kind of starts. Maybe I'll start with the Canon partnership that we announced. It would kind of bring things into context. So over the past year, we've been doing technical collaboration with Canon. They sent over crews of 10 engineers to help us, get the most out of their equipment. And so when we began talks about a deeper collaboration, they started talking to us about, okay, what's that bigger vision? And so I shared with them that for me, right, if you think about, so this is how I think about it. When you're trying to take a group photo today, right, what do? You either hand your phone to a stranger, you take the photo and everybody else is in it, but you're not, or you kind of have super long arms, but your face is kind of half the picture now, and so everyone's kind of really small in distance. So we're not really getting that I guess, like, long-lasting memory that you want, that quality memory that we used to get. So we think that taking a proper group memory could just be done from these angles, this unique vantage point, if only we could take control of these remote cameras. And that's kind of that's what Brizi does, right? So now the idea of the business has really evolved into, we let anyone tap into nearby cameras in iconic locations, sometimes stadiums, and let them capture these amazing group memories in these iconic locations and bring that anywhere. So last just this January, we announced a formal partnership with Canon. They're committing significant resources to this. It's the first for Canon, and what they see in us is, I guess, our ability to execute on this recurring business model in a very challenging space, and they see the possibility of this technology growing well beyond this to essentially anywhere group memories take place. And with that, we're continuing to strive for the best image quality, the most robust experience. We use Canon equipment as a key element of the Brizi platform, and they have a really storied legacy. And something else I'll just point out, it's interesting to me, is how the sports space is also expanding beyond its traditional realms, right? I'm sure that you see that, John. And so it's kind of that exact parallel into understanding, the business of sports is so much more. It's the business of guest experience, the business of, right? Well,
that's what you're seeing, the whole development of precincts around major stadiums, following the lead of looking at what, the Grand Slams are doing and how big and experiential, the Australian Open is, US Open is. You're seeing more precincts are being built around stadiums. So, I guess the extension of what you're doing now is, yes, you can have your cameras inside the stadium, but you still have people on the concourse, viewing parties in different parts of these big stadiums that, you want to capture those group memories wherever they are.
Exactly, right? And it doesn't matter if it's at the Eiffel Tower or if it's in Times Square, just think about the traffic flow you got there. So that's where we see kind of that opportunity expanding and being able to provide co-marketing opportunities, right? Just think about like a tourist, visiting New York. Maybe they'd like to catch games of the Yankees. Hey, maybe that's an alternative way to find out about these different experiences in the city.
Well, that's terrific. The partnership with Canon must, give you guys, really you puff out your chest as you're going into a new meeting or meeting with new clients. When you're going with a partner that has so much, weight in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. They've really aligned us. So everyone gets confused when they're like, partnership. What does that mean? Are they your customer?
Yeah.
We always have to clarify. The legal definition is a strategic alliance. That we've built together, and that's where kind of that deeper collaboration is taking place. One of their EVP and president of the Canon imaging business is joining our advisory board. So a lot of great things and a lot of great alignment to help us scale this. And we're so fortunate to have the opportunity to do so, along with all our amazing customers that have helped us to really understand how we can better solve their day-to-day.
And the thing is, where it makes sense for them is you can't, in this day and age with, everyone being disrupted, you can't just stay and say, oh, we are a camera company. Like, you need to widen your scope of what you are to be able to continue, your mission. So that's why I think it is a really good partnership for you guys and Canon.
Yeah, likewise, right? You've got you've got all the brand equity and the technical expertise of a large corporation, the expertise in scaling a product, right? Whereas for us, we're nimble, right? We're creative and we can move fast, and in combination, I think that's just a winning recipe in my book.
So part of being nimble and agile, there's also this pressure of continuing, to the only other word that gets used more than fan engagement is innovation, right? So how do you keep innovating? How do you keep pushing it a little bit further? What are your plans going forward with Brizi around what you can do and extending what your current offer is?
Great question, Sean. So we've got a lot on the product roadmap that we're extremely excited about that takes advantage of newer technology platforms like 5G. But this year we've actually, so we're just announcing a new feature this week. So if you haven't heard about it, you'll hear about it soon, which is Brizi Motion. And as the name implies, fans can now capture these unique moments where they're dancing or they're waving their team's flag, and you've got this animated looping video that people can go out and share. And we actually soft launched it with Australian Open this January, who's been a long-time customer of ours, and we had something like over 15,000 videos over the course of Australian Open, and that's just in one arena, right? And something like I think it was over 11,000 fans that partook in it and just had a lot of fun with the new feature.
And that definitely, like you were saying before, the viral nature in stadium, like it's if you were taking a video or a looping GIF in this case, you are going to move. So you are getting people standing up in between points or change of ends, and they're dancing, and so it does create the "what the hell are they doing" factor. Hang on, I've got to be part of this.
Yeah, no, it's really been a new dynamic, a new dimension for fans to express themselves. I think now it's beyond the posters that they can hold up and really show in a good way. It's doing that goofy dance move or whatever.
And
although I'm not a crazy sports fan, but the sports. All those crazy sports rituals, now we can express ourselves.
Well, as a crazy sports fan, well and truly certified, as someone who has been captured dancing on TV at a sports event, I've no doubt that more people will do it. And the thing is, like, again, from that social graph point of view, whether it's going to an NBA game or going to the Australian Open, like someone shares it and you're like, I'm going in 2 days' time or next week, it just primes them for then using it, because it, like, the social graph of sharing it with your friends is so tight, and it's sort of it still gets the velvet rope treatment. Like, Facebook will still let everyone see that because everyone's engaged with it, and so it does give you that sort of wider reach than you might see in other platforms.
Exactly. Actually, we're secretly a little thankful for Mark Zuckerberg's algorithm tweaks, because it's actually prioritized a lot of the content that's being shared as far as we can see, right? Because it's those first-person connections that people really care about.
And I think even and I do tell people to listen to when Zuck has one of his keynotes, and his recent one where they sort of pivoted away from his town hall analogy, saying everyone's in the town hall, which is a little bit of Twitter's, to being the private, the living room, the private sort of sharing type mechanism. It's something, people want, and it's the dark web's the wrong answer, but it's like there's so much happening in the messaging space. People will be sharing what you're taking, in private groups or on WhatsApp or with friends. Now, it's hard from an analytics point of view, but the depth of engagement that they're getting is amazing, because it's a one-to-one or one-to-many, tight-knit private group.
Yeah, I think we're going back into an era that's not quite pre-internet, but we're searching for that deeper social connection once again, and I see a lot of different how that's actually taking place and in various different ways. But when it comes to social media, it's more so closer circles that you're sharing with. And so, as a brand, if you're trying to build more of that trusted persona with consumers, the question is, how do you attach yourself to some of the memories that you're helping consumers create, and doing it in a non-intrusive way?
Yeah, and I think that messaging piece is vital. Like, I know, like, working with and talking to the younger demographic in the esports space, there's this misnomer of they're not on certain platforms and they don't, and they're abandoning platforms like Facebook. And all the data says to me that they're not abandoning it. They're just using it differently to everybody else, and they're not sharing as much, but they're still using it to consume if you put on good content, and they're using messaging like crazy. So it's just tougher to track as a marketer, but it doesn't say abandon the platforms. It's just give them content that they want to share in those spaces, and it will get shared.
Yeah. And it's that manifestation of, I think, all going back to a little bit more of valuing those closer relationships to a bigger extent than when we had 1,000, 2,000 Facebook friends, right? What did that really mean?
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
That's kind of going back to the meaningful relationships in your life and the meaningful moments you want to capture.
So before we get into, we're about to get into the Sports Geek Closing Five to wrap this up. Where obviously people can go to BriziCam, BRIZ or ZICAM.com is where they can check it out. Is that the best place for people to go?
Yeah, that's perfect. We've got tons of videos on there, and shoot me a note on Twitter or LinkedIn if you prefer, and I'm happy to share whether it's just to bounce ideas off of each other or share some of our more hilarious levels of content.
Terrific. Well, we'll have links to that and your LinkedIn and those in the show notes, and I'll share it out. But getting into Sports Geek Closing Five, I know you said you're not a massive sports fan, but do you remember the first sports event you ever attended?
Yeah. The first sports event I've attended was actually, and this is embarrassing, but also, true to my definition of being a bit of a bandwagon fan, was my college homecoming football game. So it was my first year, freshman year, where everyone was going to the homecoming game. Never been to a football game before.
So where was it?
So I went to the University of Waterloo for mathematics and computer science. So it wasn't the biggest school when it came to football, but that was about the biggest football game they would have all year round.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, anything like when you get college students and college fans, like it's always the bananas environment. So like, when I'm ever telling people to travel and they don't know where to go and yes, go see some pro teams, but if you can take in a college game sort of anywhere at any level, you always know you're going to get great energy and excitement. So it's like you can't go wrong in that space.
Yeah, just like a sea of black and gold. It was really really memorable.
You would have been to a few sports events now in your time working with different clients around the world. And one of the things that sports venues and hosts are trying to do is to step up the food game. What's your favorite food memory? Who's impressed you the most?
Oh my gosh. I'm not a huge foodie, to be honest. The first thing that comes to mind is just a good old slice of pizza. And maybe that's a really startup thing to say.
Yep.
And I think that was kind of,
that's the fuel of startups. So yeah, you got to go to what you know.
Yeah, exactly. That was always like kind of the most economical thing to get to stadium. So if anything, I think that's what I think people are doing dynamic pricing now with food in stadiums. That's really interesting.
It is interesting, but then it's like, how do you game the system? When do I go to get something to eat to get that hot dog?
Exactly.
It's like you want to moneyball your own hot dogs, and you're trying to figure out when I've got to go during the fourth inning when there's a lull, because but we'll see. That someone will eventually come up with an app. When is the best time to go get your hot dog? I'm sure. I'll be
the first one to download that.
Yeah, exactly. What's the first app you open in the morning?
First app I open in the morning. Well, it's actually an app called Insight Timer. It's a great. A lot of people use Headspace for kind of that morning thoughts, meditation, or whatnot. Insight Timer is fantastic by far. Like, I think community-wise, the amount of content on there, it's my go-to.
So is that part of your morning ritual to do that for a certain amount of time in the morning?
Yeah, it's to really just get clarity, focus, and just kind of meditate, get my brain muscles working on the focus and clarity, aspects. It always helps me have a more purposeful and intentional day.
Terrific. You don't go the full Tony Robbins and do the ice pool and the hot bath alternating for 30 seconds. His morning ritual is ridiculous.
Actually do that.
Yeah, his morning ritual is ridiculous, but it is, he is Tony Robbins. He has to do it to the nth degree. But it is interesting listening to different people's, I guess, morning rituals and how you set your day, because it can really set that up. And I do find myself, if I get rushed in a couple of mornings in a row and miss my the setting up of the day, it can spiral out of control. So I will check that out. Inside Timer. Is there someone that you follow, read, or have worked with that you recommend the podcast listeners should follow and check out?
I mean, a lot of what I read is from Medium, which is, amazing platform. I think I just kind of completely switched over from Twitter, but not one person comes to mind, to be honest with you, Sean. I'm trying to think of someone, but yeah, like Medium and audiobooks. Those are kind of my two.
What's the last audiobook you listen to? Do you go with brain food, or do you go with I want to tune out and fiction and that kind of stuff?
Both. The last fiction book I read was Atlas Shrugged. That was really cool and an intense listen. And I just opened up the app here. So the last book that I was listening to is *Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind*.
Oh yeah,
so,
and recommend that one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're searching for kind of more core, we behave the way we behave and core human needs, this is a fascinating book.
Yeah, I just finished. Andy Perelman recommended it in a podcast last year, and I finally got around to listening to it. But I just listened to "Everybody Lies" by Stephen Davidovitz, and it's all about data and how people say one thing, but the data says something else. And so it dives into the big data around elections and how they went and how everyone mispredicted, elections in the US, to what people say about the activities in certain rooms of the house and what actually happens. So it goes into a whole bunch of stuff. There's a little bit of sports stuff there at the start as well. But yeah, if you're a fan of, and thank you very much to Andy for recommending it. But yeah, it's very much in the data piece, but then where it fits from a behavioural point of view. I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, no, that's fantastic. It sounds kind of a little like Freakonomics, but I love that stuff. Yeah,
no, it's a little bit in that same space of Freakonomics, but more diving in on like what Google Trends says. What all the data and all the different data, because he goes and gets more data sets to go and find out, to validate, I guess, some of the theories. But
cool.
Yeah. So check that out. So the last one, and I asked this both from Brizi and maybe from the Brizi platform and how people use it, to also yourself. What social media platform is your MVP? What's your go-to?
It's honestly a toss-up between all the Facebook platforms. So Instagram, Facebook Messenger.
Yep.
And now WhatsApp.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
But this is not a choose all of them. This is like you've got to choose your favorite child. You've got to pick one. Is there one that's...
It's an empire, don't you understand, Sean?
Yeah, I know. It's all interconnected. Once you're in the system, you're in the system. Yeah. It has to be. I mean, for what you're doing, Instagram is still growing at a rapid rise, and stories keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'm assuming that Instagram is still, one of the biggest beasts in what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Everyone's trying to share that those perfect moments.
And from your point of view, what's your go-to platform personally?
Okay, so you're making me choose. My personal one, probably Instagram.
Yeah.
Right, like it's just the UI is the most intuitive and easy to consume. But I'll be honest, I limit myself to just.
Have you got the digital timers in to realize that you're because I've turned them on and it feels like you're getting told off by your phone when it says, "That's enough. Stop looking at Instagram." And you're like, "Yeah, you're right. I should."
You're like, snooze.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh no, I'll just turn it off just for today." And it's like, I'm really falling down this rabbit hole. Anyway, that's enough. Yeah, where can people connect with you? Your Twitter is UH_Anna. Is that correct?
So it's just my name backwards with an underscore in between.
That's right. Yes, Anna is if you were to say it. But we'll put a link in, and obviously it'll be linked. We'll tag you in the posts, and then obviously you can be connected on LinkedIn if you want to reach out, and we'll put links to brizicam.com in the show notes. But please, if you're listening to this podcast and you're interested, please reach out to Anna. I am always pumped when listeners reach out to guests, and I look forward to Anna telling me in a couple of weeks how many people have reached out to her. Thank you very much for coming to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Sean. It was a pleasure.
And I look forward to catching up with you soon, maybe in your hometown of Toronto.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Come up, just not during February or March.
Yeah. No, I understand that, definitely. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care.
New workshops on audience, content, distribution, valuation, and pitch following Sports Geek's Digital to Dollars process. Go to digitaltodollars.com.
Thanks again to Anna. Her Twitter handle is UH_Anna. Send her a tweet. Talk to her about Brizi. Ask her about the implementations, what they've found out, what they're starting to see from how it works in different stadiums and different precincts. I think that's where it's going to be exciting to see where it goes. And then also, obviously, their Brizi Motion product and how fans will be able to capture video. I think it'll be really interesting to see. And as I said before the interview, it's if you're looking to roll out tech like Brizi, it's a great fan engagement tool, but there's a real big opportunity to commercialize it. So it becomes one of those assets that you have if you're running the digital dollars process to be able to say, well, this is the inventory we can create. And in this case, a lot of it is UGC. So what we can help you do is to build that compelling case study for a sponsor to help to be a partner in using cool tech like Brizi. So please reach out to Anna. As I said earlier, the links will be in the show notes. As always, you can simply go to the sportsgeekhq.com/227. Or if Google's doing its right thing, if you put in Anna Hugh and Sports Geek, you should find it. It should work that way. Before I wrap up, just a bit of a recap and sort of why there's been a little bit of a lapse in our regular weekly scheduled programming, and it's because of what we've been doing on the esports side as part of SG Esports. We're running an event a couple of weeks ago that was very successful. We had brands learning about esports. If you want to get that event report about how connecting brands with esports, you can download that at sgesports.com. It's available for download to see how different brands are activating in the space and some of the opportunities. And if you're interested, please download. If you've got a question, please reach out. Learning all the time in this new space, learning about how to use Twitch. Recently, we've been running our trial games on Twitch, so starting to see what the chats are like and some of the metrics that are coming out of Twitch, which have been eye-opening. So yes, if you've got any questions about the esports space, if it's something that your team is looking to enter or you're a brand looking at esports, please get in touch, Sean at sportsgeekhq.com, or download that report at sgesports.com. Until next episode, my name is Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek.
Join Sports Geek Nation access to exclusive Slack and Facebook groups with regular Q&A sessions with Sean Callanan. Go to sportsgeeknation.com to join. Need help with your digital rate card? Not sure how to price your assets? Is there a disconnect between digital and commercial? That is where Sean works best, in digital divorce counselor mode. Book a time for a call with Sean to discuss the Sports Geek process. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/phone call.
Go to sportsgeekhq.com for more sports digital marketing resources.